I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Good to be here. I see my friends coming in today. We've been talking on Tuesdays to creative people, to artists. And right now I'm looking at three people that I have just great admiration for. One is my cousin, Robert Powell, who is joining us from St. Louis. Another is Douglas R. Ewart, who is here in Twin Cities. And then the third one is brother Tyrone, who is joining us from Kingston. I think he's in Kingston or in Jamaica. And we have to hope that the signal holds up. There are challenges, but our idea is simply to keep connecting and having discussions among us and between us and with you about the role, the purpose, the value, the beauty of art in our lives and the business of art. How do we take our art and view it as an asset, grow its value, and deliver for our families, our communities, the inspiration and the practical benefit of art. I see Janice Lane, you're in the screen there too. Say hello to Sister Janice. How are you? Good to see you.
Hello, thank you.
Good to see you. So, brother
Iriman.
Tyrone, we say getting the Irish shout out to you, brother.
Yeah,
Tyrone, how you doing, man?
greetings. Blessed love, man. We're there in Alan Company.
Okay. Well,
Mr.
let's
Douglas
do
and
this.
Mr.
This
Robert.
is
One
unscripted,
love. One love.
Yeah, man,
unscripted
one love.
conversation. And we're just going to go around the circle, and I'm going to ask, starting with Robert Powell, what's on your mind today? What you think about art, culture, community? What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind, Al, is I received an email from a friend telling me about a event that was happening. I sent it to you and Caldwell also. Peg Austin Fine Art. Is anybody familiar with her?
I am not.
Anyway, she's a art dealer, collector, and is credited with selling the Basquiat painting at auction for $100 million.
Whoa.
So when I look at that, I always say it's who says that you are good, that you are worthy of being an artist. I almost sometimes think that it is like a fruit tree. And those in the art world, well, let's get that one and make that the one. And so what I'm trying to lead to is somehow we, African Americans, whatever that falls within that, African, Jamaican, the whole diaspora, have to start saying it's worth that and purchasing it, buying it. Because all of us are aware, I think you heard of the banana on the wall, you know, that was taped to the wall with duct tape that sold for $250,000. If you're not, just Google it. This is ludicrous. You know, if we are chasing the dollar, it's like, well, wow. Is my art more pleasing than Basquiat's, or your art more pleasing than the banana on the... So it has nothing to do with that in my mind. It's who is willing to pay this price, you know.
Well, that's amazing.
Jay-Z and Beyonce own a Basquiat.
Okay.
You know, that says they think it's worth something.
Mm-hmm.
And they are championing that. That's what we need. We need a vehicle.
That's a great way to open the show, Robert Powell, joining us. You know, Robert, take a minute to tell people who you are and your work with Portfolio in St. Louis.
I am the founder and executive director of a not-for-profit arts organization called Portfolio Gallery. Portfolio Inc. We are a 501c3 arts organization that has been in existence here in Missouri for 33 years. And our mission is to educate, enrich lives, and foster a greater awareness of art created by the African American visual artists. And when I say visual artists, we have been creeping over into film and theater, but initially it was painters, sculptors, printmakers, that traditionally known art. And we use as our vehicle to tell our story, classroom instructions, workshops, seminars, art exhibits. And we currently have an art exhibit on, we call All Colors, 124 pieces of art from 52 artists around the country, a couple of them out of the country. So that's kind of what we're doing. But I keep going back to my first conversation with you, Al, about how could we really unite? And I'm talking about a not-for-profit organization that would allow us to apply for grants and use each other's narrative of what fits to write to the grant. But it would be somehow we'd have to figure out, the economics of it, which is always going to be the hard part, I think. But somehow collectively we have bits and pieces and, but it's, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling now, but.
No, I think this is a great way to open the conversation. Let me just shift the microphone over to Douglas R. Ewart. And Douglas, do two things, respond to that. Number one, three things, say what's on your mind today, and then take a minute to acquaint our viewers, listeners who might not know you or your work about your path in creativity.
It's great to be here. Great to be in concert, Congress, solidarity with my brethren and sisterins out there. I think we realize that we're the ones that create the currency of anything, the currency of who we are, the value of who we are, the value of what we do. There's also in this culture what I call ridiculosity, and idiocy, and a kind of extravagance that is crazy. But at the same time, one of the things I want to emphasize while we're talking about the value of art is we can purchase art and we don't have to be rich. I think that's one of the most important things I want to convey to the listeners is the notion that you have to be wealthy to have original art. And I think that's one of the areas that we suffer from because people will buy things that are mass produced when they could buy original pieces from people in their neighborhood and great artists. So let's remember that aspect, and that we're the ones that create the value. And yes, it would be great for us to have the support from some of the wealthy people, particularly I'm thinking of some of the wealthy Black people that can afford to support us on a great level. And to reiterate, though, that we can purchase art within our means, and it's important to support. It is important to surround yourself with those kinds of pieces, and to support artists from your neighborhood. And I'm Douglas Ewart. I'm a musician, visual artist, inventor, build instruments out of discarded items such as skis and crutches and oars and so on. I'm a painter. I studied tailoring. I make my own costumes. I'm originally from Jamaica, and it's still a crucial aspect of my fabric, my development, my philosophy, because we, in that culture, we made a lot of things from scratch. Particularly, I want to talk about food because now many children are not exposed to um, food cooked from scratch. Everything is out of a can, and I'm not saying that sometimes one doesn't need or have to do that, but we need to focus more on the fact that fresh foods, good vegetables, and fruits are crucial to having good health. And that's a big issue for us. I've been traveling and I've noticed that in a lot of places, people are lining up buying fast foods in just incredible numbers. And I know it's an economic factor because when you go out to eat, especially things that are not that healthy for you, with such regularity, you're going to pay the consequences for it down the line.
That's an interesting observation and something to talk about as well. Let me bring two more voices in. I'll switch to my colleague, our friend in Jamaica, Brother Tyrone at Tyrone's studio. Tyrone, how you doing? I'm glad to see you again. We always have the challenge of hoping we have a good connection and good internet, but jump in the conversation, present or introduce yourself again to our viewers and our listeners. This is live radio plus live social media. We're streaming live to Facebook at the Insight News Facebook page, also streaming live to Facebook at the Black Press USA page. So an audience that's big and growing. Brother Tyrone?
Yeah, thank you very much, Al. Thank you very much, Al and company. For those who are out there in the radio land and Facebook, internet land, my name is Tyrone, and I am the owner, CEO at Tyrone Studio, where art is expressed, the Jamaican culture is expressed to the world in order to have like a cultural retention in that type of format using videography and using canvases, papers, to demonstrate that out there in mainstream media. Now, you have been asking this question: what is on our minds as artists? What's on my mind? NFT. I want to know what are NFTs because I saw this ad this morning and guy was saying, "What the hell is NFT?" And I'm saying it says non-fungible tokens, right? And he was saying this. I think it was this 14-year-old white boy. Um, he he had some dinosaurs, like those. I want to define them properly, but it looked like something that was digitally produced, and he had four images, and this kid sold these NFTs for about $1.3 million. Right? It baffles me how the internet market deals with art and how art is changing. It's not long only the visual art is something. It could be it could be something video or audio, right? And I'm saying to myself, what is really happening? I need to know more about this NFT. I need to know more. How can we as artists coming from an age of, I would call it, it's still modernism, but a traditional way of presenting art. How can we tap into NFTs and learn what is happening? Because at the end of the day, our competitors, they're just putting their images out there and it's going like crazy. So how can we as artists um, manipulate this thing as well, because we cannot play ignorant to it, because it's going to leave us behind. And then 10 years from now, we're going to catch up and say, okay, we're just doing NFTs when it is something that is happening now. So I'm saying just something to consider. And to take up on the point that Mr. Douglas made earlier about food. Food is something that on my channel I have a lot of videos on foods. So you guys can check it out. It's called Tyrone Studio on YouTube. That's Tyrone Studio, as in Studio, Tyrone Studio on YouTube. You can check out the culinary arts and the videos and cooking that is done in Jamaica. Now I have this specific video that I did with a gentleman teaching us how to make natural juices, and the very fact that you can use the simple ingredients that is found in any farm store. You can, as long as it's something that is not I would say a lot of chemicals, and it's something's natural, and you can plant it too. You can plant your own ginger, you can plant your own beetroot as the seedling cells. You can plant your own carrots. Those are quick, we call it quick crop. Yeah. So
I'm showing your channel right now as we speak. I don't know if you can see it or not, but
yeah,
there's an image of you doing your food program. But keep talking. Go ahead.
yeah. So I'm saying that we got this. I conceived this idea years ago. I'm not gonna be longer because somebody needs to speak. But this idea it's been around for ages. Subsistent living, and it's basically us planting our own food. To buy a pack of seedling and to plant it in a pot, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. But because of the mass media and the promotion of fast food, Mr. Douglas, it dims our generation eyes from seeing the reality. Because I believe that eating fast food every day is like storing garbage inside it, you know, and we're lining up for garbage. But we can make, I would say, there's a saying that they say, make your food be a medicine, and medicine be your food. And as artists, we have a different mindset how we think. We think unorthodox, you know. But it's something that you guys can check out. Check out that health drink. Easy to make. And when I visited the gentleman that made that drink, it made me realize something, that look at how many raw material we have and we're wasting it. We're wasting those raw materials. And I saw this video when this guy was eating mud, right? And he's showing that the starvation is real, the water shortage is real, and they made the mud, and they mixed salt. They had salt to the mud and some type of cinnamon spice, and these children are eating the mud. And I'm wondering, like, God, what is this? But it's just to show you that how the industry is going. So we know we have to kind of just defend ourselves and those who are around us and teach them the right thing. And that's what my aim is here at Tyrone Studio. Not just being a visual artist, a painter, but somebody who can educate the masses. Because I mean, a lot of people have been throwing away their health, and you can't get it back when you're sick. Don't, the man said, don't wait until you're sick to start getting healthy. You know, so yeah, keep it that way. Yeah.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. Tuesdays, we're doing our regular check-in with a group of excellent artists. And we plan to do this for the next several weeks, just reach out and bring more artists into conversations just like this. I call this a robust conversation. We've planted the seeds for some great discussions here, food being one of them, the question of the international aspect of our presence and how we relate to each other. How do we bring our products to market? The question of creating systems that give us a valuation that allows us to determine and control the value of our creativity and to not be victimized or allow or wait for somebody else to validate, but how do we validate ourselves? Let me bring in the other voice in the program today, and that's my friend, painter, artist, graphic artist, and designer here in Minneapolis, Donald Walker. Donald Walker actually has a show opening up down the street from me at the University of Minnesota at the Center for Urban and Regional Affairs and Engagement on Plymouth Avenue. I think the show is mounted. The formal opening is a few days away, and we'll be presenting one of Donald's art pieces on the cover of Insight News next week. We're working on that right now, and inviting the public to come and see and support and hopefully buy some work from Donald Walker. I think it's always important for me to encourage our people to be entrepreneurial with each other, to say that what we have, if we choose to sell it, here it is, and to invite our people to buy it. And I think, as Douglas said, the transactions can be small transactions in the neighborhood or huge transactions. Now, Basquiat, $100 million, doable. And it's not a question of either or. It's a question of both and. How do we make sure that we're operating as effectively, efficiently at all ends of the spectrum? Donald Walker, brother, good afternoon. Good to see you. Thanks for joining the program.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here and
move into your microphone if you can. Just give me a stronger voice. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay, yeah, it's an honor to be here and to meet, hear what the other artists are talking about. I just want to put in my little 2 cents. I like to see. Now, I'm not going off the question. I'm kind of just going off.
You can go wherever you want to go. This is no script. How you feel? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? I would like to see the places where we shop and do business, where we spend our money. I mean, like high-end furniture stores, like Home and Room and Board, Macy's, Ashley's furniture stores, all these big stores where we go and spend $3,000 and $5,000 for furniture, but we don't make them accountable to. They'll go off into the European countries and buy art and sell it to us, or don't respect the artists that are here in the States that supports them. We need to, my theory, we need to make a lot of these companies that we do business with. I mean, like Targets, all of the above big stores that we spend our money. We need to make them accountable and have them to promote our product and sell our products in their stores, rather than make us feel like we're from Star Trek or out in space. And I like to also talk to the young people, thinking about entering in the art world or making it a profession. A lot of things go with that, and the parents too. They see their child with talent. I like to steer them into the technical part in the art world, like going into animation, designing games, because that's the hot thing now. Rather than, drawing a beautiful picture and hanging it on the wall, that's good also. But I would focus on something that would really pay off in the long run, of having a skill or technical skill to support yourself in the art world. And again, computer graphics, animation, doing engineering design, those are the things that I hope the young people would kind of take another look at, rather than just drawing pictures and nice artwork and selling it. That's, like I said, that's good. But as a older person going through those channels, it would best serve you if you have a lot of things in your toolbox. And the more technical you get with your art, or the more you have in your toolbox, the more marketable you'll be in trying to get compensated for your talents and skills.
We just lost one Tyrone, but here's another Tyrone, Tyrone Aiken, brother Tyrone. How are you, my friend?
We lost Tyrone. That's the only reason I'm here, man.
Tyrone from Kingston or from Jamaica was on.
Yeah.
He owns Tyrone Studio, and he just sent a note saying he had to leave after a few minutes, and he's going to come back next week. But always good to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm exhausted, but I'm doing well. I got a kickoff at 2:22.
Okay, you know everybody here. You know, have you met Robert Powell, my cousin? I think you've met before.
Yeah,
You told me.
in Kansas.
Kansas. I'm from Kansas City, but living in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
We think you were on the first show with us.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hi, everybody.
Hey now,
Walker, the chief.
Hey, how you doing, Scova?
And Douglas yours.
hey now.
Blessings.
And getting back to also on what I was saying about that young people, I like to focus on them because they're going to replace us, and I would like to see them really, again, go into the technical field in the art world and just get as much skills as they can that would be marketable and where they can be compensated. And now jumping back to our business, the art world, as we all know, have shortchanged us. I found out my success came from who you know. There's a lot of people that have just beautiful, dynamite, outstanding talent and skills, but they don't get that opportunity to get someone that can put them in that spotlight. And when you do, and I'm speaking from experience, they can make things happen for you in a twinkling of an eye. Being with celebrities, people that have a name, that are out there, that can get your attention, you get their attention and support you. I'm talking to young people. They can make things go a lot faster. What you have to do is just have the talent, be ready to meet the opportunity, and always carry yourself with a personality that can go places. Your personality and the way you communicate with people in selling your product or talking about your talent means a lot. And that's kind of like what I have to say for now.
Tacumba, jump in. What's on your mind, Tacumba?
My mind. Well, agreeing with Donald. Speaking of young people, there are a lot of young people out there right now that are doing amazing work, and I don't want them to get frustrated, because if I had gotten frustrated and let that be my litmus test, I wouldn't be here right now. When people said they didn't want it, that meant that 10 others might want it. That's the way I had to get my mind to think. And sometimes a celebrity might be a sports hero, but also a business person, or your grandmother. Some of my relatives will say, "I don't know what this boy is doing, but you should look at it, and you might want it." And the networking of churches, and you have to realize that when you read the history of African American artists, like Ossawa Tanner, there was a church to raise the money for him to go to Europe, and he studied in Europe. There's been many times that's happened. So there's mosques, churches, places that. But what sort of like what Donald says, you have to be upright about yourself. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to come forthright. Now, that doesn't mean change your swag or your attitude, but you got to believe in it. And, to be somebody that might want to be an antagonist, well, that's going to get people that want antagonist people in their life. They might want you to tell the truth of your work, but you as a presenter of that work is a different thing. people don't expect me when I come in with a suit jacket and a tie that, I'm doing power to the people, but it's too late then. My work is in there and I'm doing it,
I think that building alliances is endemic to success in any field. And so you always have to be connecting with people, not just with an ulterior motive, but as a way of life.
Right.
I do several things. I don't compartmentalize them. I teach. I make instruments. I make sculpture. I paint. I invent things, and I found a way to build them so that they're really one organism, each one feeding and sustaining the other. For example, when I get an exhibit, I try to get a concert that's tied into it. I try to get a lecture tied into it so that I can do that. And you're meeting people all the time from all over. From school days, I'm still in touch with my childhood friends. You make a good connection from the beginning. It doesn't have to be every moment. No matter how many years go by, when we see each other, it's just like yesterday. It's a continuum of that relationship. I think one of the things that we're facing, and Brother Tyrone left, in terms of food and people buying things, is what I call false affluence, which is this idea that, if you can buy it, you can get it, or you can run it, or whatever the case may be. And that's not always true. And in fact, we need to make it not true so that money doesn't dictate everything. And so I call it false affluence because a lot of people go out and buy food. We used to go out and eat out. Um, that was a very special occasion. It wasn't a regular situation because we ate at home, and you can provide a number of meals for the price of a meal that you go out to buy. I'm not saying don't go out and have meals, but many people go out and spend money they can't afford to spend, and they get in debt, and they also are eating things that are not good for you. One of the issues that I've noticed when I went back home to Jamaica is that I didn't see as many gardens as I once saw when we were coming up. And that's an important part of when you talk about independence, whether it be individually or as a nation. Your first and most vital aspect is being able to feed yourselves. When you can feed yourself, you can talk forward to anyone.
Yes.
When you can't, you're under their thumb. And so Jamaica imports far too many foods that don't taste as good, foods that have been picked before they've even reached full maturity. Therefore, you're not getting the best nutritional value, foods that are overly fertilized, and so on. These are the concepts that we need to go forward with. There's a great movie called Life and Debt, DEBT, and it was made by a woman named Stephanie Schwartz, also known as Stephanie Black. And it's a very poignant movie in terms of what happens to islands, in terms of trade, the unfair trade, and workers uh, just not being properly compensated, don't have health insurance, the destruction of the agricultural abilities of countries like Jamaica based on unfair trade and dumping of food. We need to study these things. One of the last things, because I know there are several of us here, is this notion of talent. Talent is is a small percentage of it, in my estimation. It's about work. And people often say talent as though you didn't have to do anything to arrive where you are. And so there's an overemphasis on that, as though artists don't have a work ethic and they don't put any effort into doing what we do. And so I want to emphasize that perseverance is crucial, probably the most crucial element of being an artist, because you know many people that you might consider very innately gifted, but they didn't have the stamina and the persistence and the perseverance that it takes to be what we call successful. And of course, there are levels and degrees of what is success.
I'm Al McFarlane. You're listening to Conversations with Al McFarlane today, Tuesday, connecting with artists from around the country and around the world. We had Brother Tyrone join us from Jamaica. He's left to be in next week, but we have here Twin Cities artist and also an artist from St. Louis, Missouri. Robert Powell, let me have you jump back in, reflecting on the conversation that you set in motion today. A great conversation. Here are the things that I'm thinking about based on what you started and what we've all come across. This question of the need to come up with a system of either of economics or system of relationships, not just economics, but relationships that reflect a different set of values that sustain and support our idea of who we are in the world and how we prosper as individuals and as human beings, as a culture, that within a global social structure that has, for the past 500 years at least, worked to derail, diminish, devalue Black bodies, Black minds, Black culture, that has exploited Black people, but also the rest of humanity as well, when and where it could. So there is a point of conflict that we have to be mindful of. How do we react and take ourselves out of imitating that which oppressed us, create something that enriches and develops our gifts, our natural selves, and in a way that positions our strength to be an antidote to the negativity that the world has thrived on for the past 500 years. I'm throwing that out just as conversation. Robert Powell, what do you think?
Well, I certainly think that you're correct. Any vehicle that can help move us forward as a people would be great. I'm 76 years old, and all my life, my people, those like me, have been fighting, the someday message, we will overcome. I've learned that unless you put a date on it, it's probably not important. We're just someday, and we're giving our thanks for the day, and I do that often. That's my mantra. Thank you. So we certainly need that vehicle. But if I could just go back to listening to some of the other conversations, particularly about art, I wonder, how do you, on the call here, how do you determine price of your art? Within means, that was Brother Douglas said something about within means and in the neighborhood. And, I don't know quite what that means with regards to finding that patron, identifying that patron. I agree with all of it is relationships, bottom line, okay? If they don't like you, they probably not buying from you. That's, what I do if you bring in a plumber, and they just giving you an estimate. So yeah, attitude, all of those things are good. But how do we raise the consciousness of the buyer within the neighborhood, within the community, to a level that they say, yeah. My answer has always been when people ask me, is your art expensive? My answer is, you mean for the only one on earth? I'm trying to get them to think about that. You can't go to Macy's and Ashley and all of those places and get this. Bill Gates doesn't have it, Oprah, any of them people, But I am flexible, but I often wonder how people come to a level of saying, well, give me 10,000. My brother and I, Lonnie, is an artist, trained artist, educated. We create things that nobody asks us to do, and then we say, give me 15,000. That's a hell of a dream, And sometimes we get it. I know a guy carried a $20,000 piece around for 20 years. I mean, it was exactly 20 years, and he finally put it in a place where the guy came in and say, 20,000 here. 20 years. That's an amazing thing. So I'd like to know how y'all price your artwork. Reach this price hourly? Do you keep an hourly schedule, or do you just somehow come to it?
I like to say from experience and
Donald Walker,
studying the market, just knowing what the market is producing and what they're selling it for. You kind of like, study, build your community. When I say community, people that around you, that knows you, and you kind of just study your market before you, jump out there, because art, and we all know it's subjective, but just knowing your market, doing a study, and then go for what you know, apply it. The same way when if we were to talk to those major department stores that we do business with, we need to study with them, start finding out how much we spend in their stores and where are they coming back to us with something. Make them accountable. Something I haven't seen done. We need
I've seen that done. Actually, furniture store here it's a sister here that has some kind of contract. One of the things that often prevents that is that they hit you with, well, Mr. Douglas, can you provide our region with this product? Which means that you got to make those many reproductions to give X number of images to that particular store. Now, there's a process to do that,
Yeah.
But it can be done, and, most things are done with finding the right avenue. Who is the person who can make that decision?
And,
Yeah,
and they can. Yeah. I mean, it's sad that I haven't seen it happen here.
Right.
And I know that they can do that. They can make amends where they can help you get those types of supplies if they wanted to.
Certainly.
It's been going on too long where they have neglected the Black consumer and what we pay for their products and how we spend our money in their stores, and we're not getting it back. One store, I spent over $15,000 at one time, and I asked them to consider just putting my picture in the store, and you think I had cussed at them or said something bad, they looked at me like I was crazy. And it still goes on today. That respect, is just being obligated to respect the customer. And I haven't seen it done here. It's if it is, I haven't seen it, and that's just me.
Well, you probably, have to start with the, corporate office, writing letters.
And you get nowhere, because I started that too. You get lost.
Particularly if you don't have a contact in the,
Yeah, but that's the it's like a quarterback. You think you're throwing the ball to your receiver, and he's throwing it down to the kicker.
That's right.
It's funny because they'll say, yeah, corporate office, and it get lost from there. It get lost. You don't get. That's why a celebrity can speed things up. People that are in power, that has connections, they can make things happen. I've seen that.
Yeah, but it's not just the celebrity. I agree with that. But if you knew the vice president of marketing and had a relationship with him, and he's willing to help you, that's all I'm saying. Okay. That's better than just writing. It's like sending your resume to a company.
Yep.
Resumes screen you out. They don't screen you in.
But getting to that corporate person, that's another story.
Well, that's your circle, whatever network, you have, where you can bump into them at the NAACP, at the Urban League, all of that, the links, the carousels, the alphas, the kappas.
I'm talking for my experience in Minnesota. If that was true, I would see more Black artists' artwork in these stores. Because
they're not pursuing that. I say, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't want this to be an argument. Okay, I wanted to say that there are many layers to the onion.
Right.
I'd like to
jump in, Douglas.
I just wanted to say that connections are always important. And sometimes you have to use someone else to be the conduit. The aspect of the value of or the price that you sell things for, that's also something in terms of relationship and who is buying the piece. And some pieces, as an artist, you don't care if you ever sell it. You didn't make it for selling it necessarily. And if you have a value that you've ascribed to a particular piece, I can't blame that artist that took 20 years to sell his piece. He didn't care whether it was sold. Not that he didn't care if it was sold or not, but if his price was not met, he was not willing to part with the article. But I make pieces, and if somebody is purchasing it that I know doesn't have the means to purchase it, I can change my price to deal with them. Artists have even given me some of their work. I'm not saying that you can go around and just beg people for their art. This is out of their generosity and magnanimity. However, I think part of pricing is who is buying.
Well, that's why I say you study your market. I mean, if I'm,
but I don't believe that there's an art market.
Well,
I believe that artists need patrons.
Well, you do need to have you study your market. You're surrounded. What they're buying. A whole lot of things go into studying your market. You see what the competition is. You find out the customers, what they buy. It's all just studying everything, and then you can kind of make a a more wise decision, just rather going out of the blue sky, just saying this should be this should be that. I would study my market, study the whole scenario of selling art before I jump out there putting a price on anything.
Well,
Have any of you seen the Direct TV? It's on Direct TV here. The Price of Everything.
I have not.
no.
It's an art about the art world. If you can pull that up, The Price of Everything is the name of it. You ought to see that. You know, formaldehyde animals stuffed with the drippings selling for them those NFT prices, and
But,
you be like,
all of
that's all connections,
all of that
relationships.
but it's all developed in a timely fashion. Some people can move faster than others, but it's establishing your value to
No,
yourself.
I'm with you.
And so, like with me, I've been studying all kinds of markets for a long time. I realized when I couldn't get artwork in a museum, I started doing murals because all I wanted was to have thousands of people see my work. And once thousands of people saw my work, the museums were wanting to know what I was going to do for them. And I'm like, I don't know you, you know? And so I went back and they would ask more and ask more. Then I might do some kind of pseudo show or one of 10 people and stuff like that. And then after I had exhausted that, I didn't want to do it anymore. So they would have to figure something else out or I go somewhere else. Recently, I hired somebody, a Black man that goes to these big Art Basel and the Armory show. I hired him as my consultant. And so I was his second, when he would go to a VIP thing, I was his +1. That's basically all it was. But I went, and all I took was a little business card that I had a painting that has very successfully made it to a museum. And the rest of the time, I was just looking and listening. When I went to New York, man, after the second day, I wanted to throw up, but that's all right. You know, I went around to some neighborhoods that people were real. Luckily, I found this woman that I knew from here that was in New York, and she got me back into a real space that I could gather myself up and say, if this is what you want to go into, now I got to go back into it. But now I thought New York was not successful until I got to Florida, and then a third of those people were in Florida and said, hey, there he is again. You know, it's not that they're trying to get rid of you. They're just, I mean, these people are all kinds of hustles and stuff like that. But there were some that I could talk to. There was a group of artists or a CEO founder of a thing called Fearless Artist Group. And she came here after seeing my work from a friend and said, you're a national treasure. What are you doing sitting up in here? And you're going to go to Miami and not have any work there? And I'm like, well, yeah, I was going to go study it. She said, really? And that made me think about it. I'm like, really? Am I going to do that? And she had a venue that I could buy into, and I did it. And so now I can say I showed at Art Basel, you know, so that does whatever to the price. I'm not trying to tie down a price. Matter of fact, I don't even talk when people start talking price. I let them talk, you know. They get up to my number, fine. If not, we just had a nice dinner. I didn't have to say no or yes and stuff like that. Because I have this phrase since I was a little kid. Well, it wasn't my phrase. It was my dad's phrase and probably my grandfather. I can be broke on my own. You know, so that alone gives me the premise to go, like your friend that had the painting that he wanted $20,000. And know the people, he just said, I want $2,000. You know, I give you $15,000? No, I want $20,000. You know, he's crazy. Well, he wants $20,000. Obviously, he knows that he can get that at some time. You know,
Right. But he has lots of work, you know.
Yeah, right. So now, after selling one for $20,000, he might be able to get $5,000, $4,000, $2,000, $3,000 for the other pieces, you know, because that one set the tone. My whole thing was, I used to tell people, they said, how do you price your work? I said, my kids need tennis shoes. I need $375 for rent. You know, and some peanut butter and some peanut and jelly. What about the bread? I said, that's a tip. You know, because that's all I could base it on is what my experience of success is. You know, I'm not going to look at these people up here, the Damien Hirst, ain't got nothing to do with me until I go past him. Then I'm asking him how his cows are then, but that's a matter of time, you know. But my mind keeps saying, go. The photographer, African-American photographer, Dawood Bey. I asked Dawood, now he's like, you know, one under Gordon Parks and, you know, one of the top American photographers, you know, and one of the top world photographers. And, you know, I got a little bit like bold and I was like, hey man, typing, hey man, how, you know, how can I get up there? How can, you know, how can you get me up there? How can you get there? And he said, Takumba, you got to show up. So I pondered that for like 2 months. What does that mean, you know? And then I realized, let me see. And when people asked me to come to something, I would come to that. And I'd leave and I'd come to something else. And if somebody met me that I met there, all of a sudden says, hey, can I see your work? And I mean, I was already whatever, known, but known but broke or known whatever, you know, not really broke, but not really feeling like I had been accomplishing anything. But like Douglas said, I wove my set designs, my choreography, my murals. I wove it together because all of a sudden the audiences started to multiply. And somebody that's in the theater and somebody that's in the art say Takumba, and they both stare at each other like, how do you know him? Boom, it connects. So, but the thing is, it is so broad-based that I had to just choose a space to go for now, which was these big art things. I'm like, why are these things so big? And why is somebody buying a print that's 10 feet by 5 feet for hundreds of thousands of dollars? Don't they know it's a print? And they're like, yes, we know it's a print, but it's big and it's colorful and it's by this person. So I'm like, okay, now I got to create some kind of persona that creates that. Matter of fact, I'm doing this thing today, February 2nd, February 22nd, 2022. I'm doing a palindrome. That's a palindrome when the numbers go 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, but backwards and forwards, it mirrors itself. So I'm doing a sale. No, I'm doing experience that you can buy one of my painted tape collages, which are only 9 by 12s, but they're beautiful. See, 9 by 12. The reason those are there because I'm signing 222 of them. And I'm selling 222 of them for $222. It just came to me as an epiphany in the middle of the night. I woke up trying to figure out what 2222, what is that? What is that? And then I looked and I'm like, oh, that already passed, you know, February 2nd, 2022. And I'm like, whoa, there's another one, you know? And so I decided to do this I just believed that I could do it. And I had a team of people that have been waiting for me to come up with something that they can help with.
We're out of time, Takumba. How do people get their art that you've in the?
Oh, this palindrome. Palindrome.
Palindrome. How do they connect? Got a minute.
They can go to my website at 222 today. It'll open up with 222 paintings. 221.
Amazing. Don Walker, how do they connect with you?
They don't. They connect
Donald Walker, how do we get to your artwork?
You can just attend the exhibit, the show that's going on next week at UROC, and you'll see a show, and you can get a lot of information from there. 10
seconds each, Robert and Douglas. Anything you want people to take away from this conversation today?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for the spirited conversation, informative, and I'd like to, continue where we get to know each other better.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
I have, I think again, the importance of having connection to people. I have an exhibition right now in Bergen, Norway, as a result of an old friend, musician, composer. I have 4 pieces there. I'll have 5 pieces at the Chicago Expo in April 7th through the 10th. Connections, again, I have other exhibitions looming. My website, Douglas Ewart, EWART, Douglas Ewart, one word, .com. And you can write to me that way, and we can connect. My art is available, both sonic and visual, and as a teacher as well. And I'm looking forward to connecting with the artists that are right here. Of course, Tacumba Aiken and I go back many decades.
Listen, that's it for time, guys. Thank you all so very much. I love you each. I love you all for what you do, what you bring into creation. Thank you so much. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Donald Walker.